channel after news channel after news channel. Ever wonder why they report the same news? This is Wake Up America.
Brought to you by Citizen Stringer.
The media has become absolute lunacy. What makes us different? We just tell the truth. Daily headlines, politics, social issues, focusing on headlines that the mainstream media ignores. Conservative to the core and honest, sometimes to a fault. Unapologetically American. Welcome to Wake Up America with your host, Stephen Oatley.
Well, this isn't really Wake Up America. This is I got to make a new intro for that. This is your daily news brief where we're going to run over some of the I have no idea how long it's going to take, but we're going to run through some of the day's biggest headlines so far, and we have a lot of headlines to go. But I'm just going to talk about it real quick. Hello, everyone that's watching on social media, everyone on Citizen Stringer. Hopefully you could figure out this is live. The reason we took the dates off is because, well, we're recording it. So you just got to pay attention. You got to stay paying attention to the programs and just make sure you don't miss an episode. And if you do miss an episode, well, then you're watching it for the first time on that platform. Does that make sense? All right. For anyone that doesn't know, this show is sponsored by Spartan Armor Systems. Well, because they sponsor all of our shows. You can find them at SpartanArmorSystems.com and use code YEET, and you'll get 10% off your body armor, some of your sick hats, all that stuff as well. So that's pretty cool. All right. So let's just jump into the news for the day. I'm going to try a different camera angle, see if it helps. That way my eyes aren't, So the Dow is currently down 733 points because, well, the world is freaking out because it's down 541 points. It's rebounding. At its lowest, it was down to 33,497. So, on worries that, we're just going to get into this big, massive war, which likely we are. Anyway, Ukraine's foreign ministry has condemned the U.S.'s move to evacuate some American diplomats and their family members from the embassy in Kiev in response to a buildup of thousands of troops at the Ukrainian-Russian border and the imminent possibility of war. On Saturday, ABC News reported that the U.S. State Department was preparing to approve the evacuation of some U.S. diplomats and diplomats' families from the embassy in Kiev. The U.K. has also taken a similar action, as has Australia, and some other countries are starting to pull out all their non-essential people from Ukraine. The orders show that some Western powers are bracing for the inevitable Russian invasion. In a statement issued on Monday, Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs called the U.S. decision premature and a manifestation of excessive caution. They went on to say, in fact, there have been no radical changes in the security situation recently. The threat of new waves of Russian aggression has remained constant since 2014, and the accumulation of Russian troops near the border began in April of last year, the ministry added, not understanding why everyone is seemingly making a much bigger deal of what's going on there than Ukraine is, which is very weird. Now, the U.S. move does not mean that the Ukraine embassy in Kiev will cease functioning. The ministry pointed out, urging that Washington to be calm about recommendations for U.S. citizens to log their travel plans on the State Department's website. Yesterday, the State Department issued a level 4 travel advisory to Ukraine and the Baltics, basically saying don't go there, and if you are there, get the hell out. Now, one of the things that's interesting is on that actual warning, they cautioned all Americans, all non-essential Americans, any contractors to get out of the country within the next week using commercial or private aircraft, and then said that anyone who is still in Ukraine should fill out a form on the State Department website so that the State Department knows that you're in country. Now, that's kind of reminiscent about what happened in Afghanistan because, well, our State Department had all the Americans that were in Afghanistan fill out a form on their State Department website before abandoning them in Afghanistan, and many of them had to be rescued by Americans that were going over on their own dime to try to save other Americans because our government clearly doesn't care. But it's really weird. The ministry added that the Russian Federation is currently making active efforts to destabilize the internal situation in Ukraine. A large amount of misinformation, manipulation, and fakes is spreading in the Ukrainian and international media space in order to sow panic among Ukrainians and foreigners, intimidate business, and undermine the economic and financial stability of our state. In this situation, it's important to soberly assess the risks and stay calm, the ministry added. The ministry later said it was particularly grateful to the U.S. for its proactive diplomatic stance in providing military assistance to Ukraine. Now, speaking about the military assistance, the New York Times is reporting that unidentified anonymous sources in the Biden administration apparently had a meeting last week or this past weekend where they were coming up with plans to send thousands of troops and aircraft and military hardware to the Baltics and Eastern Europe in preparation for whatever may happen in Afghanistan. So we're going to have to wait. An estimated 100,000 Russian troops have built up along the eastern border of Ukraine, and talks with Western officials have failed to discourage Russian President Vladimir Putin, sparking fears of fresh conflict in Europe. If there is conflict, it won't be the first time that two countries have been at war. You may remember in 2014, Russia seized control of Crimea following protests in Ukraine that toppled the country's pro-Russian president. Since then, Ukraine's military has been fighting a bloody conflict with Russian-backed rebels in the Donbas region of the country. An estimated 14,000 people have been killed since the fighting began. On Saturday, some 90 tons of U.S. lethal aid, including ammunition for frontline defenders, arrived in Ukraine. But the West feels far from a united front when it comes to potential conflict in the region. U.S. President Joe Biden made a gaffe on January 19th. He didn't make a gaffe, he lied. Or maybe it was truthful. He said that if Russia made a minor incursion into the Ukraine, NATO members would be having a fight about what they are supposed to do in response to that. The comments did little to calm the nerves around Europe. In fact, there's been reporting that several of the Ukrainian people now look like this with no hair, because after Joe Biden said something, they all ripped out all their hair saying, "What an idiot." But whatever. The White House also went into full damage control following Biden's stupid-ass comments. Officials say the president had been referring to cyber attacks and paramilitary activities, but not Russian troops crossing the border. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has also warned Russia against invading Ukraine, and that was apparently on Sunday when he said it in a very soft-spoken manner as... Yeah, whatever. The New York Times reported on Sunday that Biden is considering sending 1,000 to 5,000 more troops to Eastern Europe, with the possibility of increasing that number if Russia becomes more aggressive. Should Biden go ahead with that move, it would mark a major shift from its previously restrained policy towards Ukraine. Meanwhile, Germany broke ranks with NATO over the weekend, rejecting calls to provide Kiev with weapons, despite the UK's and US's reiterating their commitment to helping Ukraine's military under the threat of Russia. So we're going to have to wait and see what is going to transpire for that. There is an active threat level, so don't go there. And just to top it off, we have other issues that are happening across the world that nobody really knows about. Taiwan, on this weekend, activated its air defense missile system after detecting 39 Chinese warplanes in its air defense identification zone. On Sunday, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense revealed it spotted 34 fighter planes, 4 electronic warfare aircrafts, and a bomber in this identification zone. In response, Taiwan then scrambled jets, issued radio warnings, and engaged its missile system. The incursion is the largest since October, when China authorized nearly 150 flights over Taiwan's air defense zone. At the time, the U.S. State Department warned China against what it called a provocative military activity, describing it as destabilizing. A show of force comes as some in the U.S. fear China will invade Taiwan in the coming months. On Friday, Representative Michael McCall of Texas predicted military action would take place following next month's Winter Olympics in Beijing, saying, "I do think after the Olympics, China has gotten so provocative, so aggressive in the South China Sea that you're going to see the CCP, which is the Chinese Communist Party, invading Taiwan," McCall told reporters. The Republican argued that President Biden's poor messaging on the ongoing Ukraine crisis sent a signal of weakness to America's adversaries, in which McCall believes that China will look to exploit, or any adversary will look to exploit. Sunday's incursion by China came one day after the U.S. Navy performed joint exercises with Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force. In a statement posted to social media, the Navy describes the exercise as a training to preserve and protect a hashtag free and open Indo-Pacific. On Friday, President Biden held a formal meeting with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. I probably said that wrong, but who cares? The bulk of which was devoted to discussion on the ongoing threat from China. Some have speculated that the China show of force is in response to the growing U.S. military presence in the region. Last week, the guided missile destroyer USS Benfold 5, no, not really, traveled through two disputed island chains in the South China Sea, angering Beijing. China's Southern Theater Command said, "We solemnly demand that the U.S. side immediately stop such provocative actions. Otherwise, it will bear the serious consequences of unforeseen events." The Navy defended the destroyer's movement, saying its mission was conducted in accordance with international law and reflects our commitment to uphold the freedom of navigation and lawful uses of the sea as principle. The United States Navy is defending its nation's right to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows. The USS Benfold did this week. A statement read, "Nothing PRC, the People's Republic of China, says otherwise will deter us." The State Department did not immediately respond to a request for comment because they are too busy writing the woke manuals of 2022 for our nation's military. We are very screwed when it comes to what's going on in everywhere else. I mean, we're screwed with what's going on here in America, but everywhere else, it's pretty nutty too. Anyway, some other stories that we're going to talk about real quick, and these are sad. Police this weekend have come under major attack. I believe 5 police officers were killed in the line of duty, or 4 police officers were killed in the line of duty. 1 was shot and 1 was killed while off duty in Texas. We're going to start off with 2 New York City police officers who were shot, one of which was shot fatally on Friday night when they encountered a known Black Lives Matter supporter, rapper, and anti-government and anti-police. I don't know if he was an activist or whatever, but we go on off of the information provided on social medias, and it turns out this guy was, he was radicalized just like pretty much everyone else who goes out there and kills random people. A New York City police officer was killed in the line of duty during a domestic dispute Friday night, and he's been identified as Officer Jason Riviera. He's 22. He was fatally shot in the Harlem neighborhood of Manhattan, the New York City Police Department said early Saturday. He joined the force in 2020. His partner, Wilbert Mora, 27, was gravely wounded and remains hospitalized this morning. Last night around 5 o'clock, he was actually transferred from a hospital in Harlem to Langone Medical Center, which is like a trauma center, a specialty center. He was transferred yesterday. There was a lot of speculation on social media that he had passed away. As of right now, he hasn't, and hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he's able to recover. He had been on the police force for 4 years. He was actually a training officer and was training a rookie. That rookie is the person that shot the offender, LaShawn McNeil, a 47-year-old scumbag. But that rookie, so Mora's trainee, was actually there and fired back at the suspect, striking him and ending the shootout, which is pretty bad. So according to news reporting, all 3 of these officers were dispatched to the report of a domestic disturbance at a apartment complex in Harlem. When they arrived, they found a woman was complaining that her adult son they were in an argument, something. When police attempted to talk to that man, not young, he's 47 years old, arguing with his mom like an idiot. He ended up kicking open his bedroom door and shooting at them with a Glock with an extended drum magazine. He shot two of the bullets immediately hit Riviera. I believe both officers were actually shot in the head as well, including Mora. The third officer, the rookie, fired back and neutralized the suspect, which is very, very sad. And it's I believe this is five police officers, 5 New York City police officers that have been shot since the first of the year. We're only on the 24th. It's only been, 3 weeks? And already 5 New York City police officers. And again, I want to make everybody understand that when I was a kid, if a New York City police officer was shot, it was a national thing. It was a national, it was a national issue when in New York City, the finest, when they were shot, it was a national issue. It had coverage on every single news station, 24/7. It showed everything. Unfortunately, now it seems that so many police officers are being shot and killed in the line of duty that mainstream media barely even covers it. Now, I know Fox News and even CNN have covered this. I don't know whether they're going to continue doing it. But there were a lot of other officers that were injured or shot this weekend as well. In Texas, a police officer was shot and killed hold on, let me get to that one. Harris County Sheriff's Office is mourning the loss of 2 police deputies since Sunday. One was killed when a suspect opened fire during a routine traffic stop, and the second was killed when he was struck by a vehicle. Early Sunday morning, Corporal Charles Galloway, a 12-year veteran of the Harris County Sheriff's Office, was shot and killed during a traffic stop for a... Hold on one second, sorry. Was shot and killed during a traffic stop, setting off a massive manhunt for the alleged cop shooter. Houston Police Department Chief Troy Finner called this incident senseless during an early morning press conference. Finner said Galloway was conducting a traffic stop, and before he could even get out of his patrol car, the suspect got out of the vehicle and started firing his weapon towards Galloway. It happened around 12:45 a.m. in the 9100 block of Beechnut during the traffic stop. Galloway was struck multiple times and killed. Constable Ted Heap said Corporal Galloway did not even have the opportunity to defend himself in this brutal attack. The suspect got out of his vehicle, immediately fired upon the deputy multiple times, striking him, and then drove off. I believe they're still doing a massive manhunt for that suspect as well. Second Harris County Sheriff's Office officer actually was working off duty as a motorcycle escort, helping a heavy load along the service road. He was off his motorcycle blocking the exit ramp when a 40-year-old woman drove around his bike and hit him. The woman took off from the scene but was later stopped by another deputy. Gonzalez said that hit-and-run driver showed signs of intoxication. Officer Ed Gonzalez was flown in critical condition to Memorial Hermann Hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries. The woman, 40-year-old Lavilla Spry, has been charged with intoxication manslaughter, evading and failure to stop and render aid. Gutierrez served with the sheriff's office for 20 years. He spent the last 13 with the Vehicular Crimes Division. He leaves behind a wife and 3 children. In Washington, D.C. this morning, an officer was also shot. He's expected to survive, though. We don't know a lot about it because the local news was being a little weird about it. But I believe the suspect got away with that one, too. A Washington, D.C. police officer was shot, and they chased the suspect into an apartment complex in D.C., but then apparently he got away. So there's still an active manhunt for that shooter. They don't know who he is, from what I understand as well. And then also, I believe it was on Friday, a Texas, or maybe it was on Saturday, a Texas Department of Public Safety officer announced, the Texas Department of Public Safety announced the death of a special agent, Anthony Salas, who was killed in a line of duty vehicle crash on Friday night while he was pursuing a group of illegal immigrants that were crossing the United States. According to the DPS statement on the 21st, around 7:30 p.m., Special Agent Salas was conducting tactical operations in Maverick County as part of a DPS Special Operations Group working jointly with U.S. Border Patrol Tactical Unit when he was involved in a tragic accident near Eagle Pass, Texas. Local EMS personnel transported him to Fort Duncan Medical Center, and he was later airlifted to the University Hospital in San Antonio. Special Agent Salas passed away just after 11 a.m. on January 22nd with his family by his side. According to the local news, the accident occurred just north of Eagle Pass after a tracking operation Salas was assisting the Border Patrol with. Their law enforcement sources told them that After arresting a group of illegal aliens near the Eagle Pass, or near Eagle Pass, the trooper and the aliens were riding in the open bed of a pickup truck driven by Border Patrol agents. For reasons unknown at this time, so I read it differently somewhere else. For reasons unknown at this time, the driver lost control of the vehicle, causing it to roll into a dry irrigation canal. Agents on the scene provided emergency medical care to Salas until an ambulance arrived. He joined the DPS in 2013, serving as a highway patrol trooper in El Paso before being promoted to special agent in the department's criminal investigations division. Special Agent Salas was a member of the DPS West Special Response Team, and he served in the United States Marine Corps prior to joining the department. He was deployed to Eagle Pass in an area to support Texas Governor Greg Abbott's Operation Lone Star. The operation was initiated in March 2021 and coordinated by DPS and the Texas National Guard to assist with the unprecedented surge of illegal aliens at the border. Governor Abbott released a statement on the death of the trooper, extending his condolences to the family and acknowledging the sacrifices that were made by law enforcement. So it's absolutely crazy that we've had 5 or 6 police officers, in total that have died in a 72-hour period in America. You would think that would just be on repeat. Granted, there's a lot going on. I mean, we had all these anti-force mandate protests yesterday, and I got to tell you, because I listened to those speeches, a couple of them were crazy, but I listened to all those speeches live while working here yesterday. We aired it on Citizen Stringer yesterday, and the media coverage of those is exactly what I expect, which is the problem with the media. The media was not. They take like the most outrageous portions of the interviews that they captured, the people that they photographed, and those are what they use as a representation for everything else. I implore anybody that's just watching this, find it. I think what is it, Children's Defense Group or something, where they have the video, and maybe I'll try to put it on demand for everyone to watch on Citizen Stringer if I can find it. Because some of the speeches and some of the things that were actually being said, they go to everybody. That wasn't a Democrat or Republican event, even though everyone said it was a MAGA event. It had nothing to do with politics. It really didn't. When you actually listen to what the speakers were saying, you had Democrats that were up there. You had left, right people that were up there. Hell, you even had a Nation of Islam guy up there, rabbis up there. You had all sorts of people up there talking about vaccines and how it impacts themselves, their community, their family members, you. And the media just selectively takes stuff where, Kennedy talked about 5G stuff and conspiracy theories. They missed what was actually being said, and that's all by design. They don't want you to know what they're actually talking about, but it is what it is. That's my little rant about that. Let's go on to another crazy story. 2 teenagers are facing a combined 31 charges in connection to a string of carjackings, robberies, and thefts across 15 cities. St. Paul residents Kershawn Wertman and Nautica Argue, 18 and 19 respectively, are accused of perpetrating nearly 25 carjacking-related offenses in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. Excuse me. Some of these high-profile crimes that garnish significant media attention, such as the January 9th carjacking outside of Wayzata East Middle School and an attempted carjacking at an Adena daycare on January 12th. According to local news Alpha News, some of their crime spree began on January 7th. See, I just started reading the wrong paragraph and chuckled to myself and whatever. This is live, so whatever. The crime spree began on January 7th when they allegedly stole a running vehicle out of a St. Louis Park woman's driveway in the middle of the day. About an hour later, they carjacked a delivery driver at gunpoint in White Bear Lake, according to the allegations made against them in criminal complaints. They stole a total of 10 vehicles and attempted to steal many more over the next several days. They didn't hesitate to use violence against their victims, often threatening to shoot those who resisted or punching them in the face. They snatched purses and phones along the way and even targeted multiple victims in the same attack. In one case, they even threatened to steal a woman's dog. Ramsey County Sheriff's deputies went looking for Wertman on the 18th at the 1700 block of Maryland Avenue in St. Paul. There, they encountered a stolen Audi being driven by Wertman with Argue in the passenger seat. Wortman then led police on a high-speed chase, turned off his vehicle's headlights to aid his escape. He eventually made his way back to the residence on Maryland Avenue, where both of the criminals were arrested. Upon his arrest, Wortman actually told the police that they should be out arresting murderers, not people who steal cars. He's facing 17 charges, while she is facing 14 charges. Additional charges are also expected. So crazy stuff going on outside of, granted, it's Minneapolis. What can you really expect? I'm going to play a quick commercial and drink some water real quick, and then we'll be right back.
Finding the right CBD product for you can be tough. Just CBD has you covered. We offer the highest quality, most consistent CBD gummies on the market, with soothing 100% organic CBD in every mouth-watering gummy. All of our products are lab certified and made in the United States using organically grown hemp. Each of our gummies gives you between 8 and 25 milligrams of soothing CBD. Enjoy all the benefits of CBD in our amazing line of gummies with Just CBD.
All right. So we got only a couple more stories in this one. I'm saving the best for last, right? Several thousand truckers in Canada are protesting the vaccine mandates that went into place January 15th, requiring all Canadian truck drivers that are unvaccinated to face a mandatory quarantine for 14 days. Now, for anyone that doesn't understand, this is a huge deal, because seeing how the majority of truckers out on the road are paid by the mile. Now, I posted a video on my Twitter page, and I actually put articles on Citizen Stringer and on Capacity today, this morning, identical articles about this, also showing a video of a truck driver being told he has to quarantine for 14 days. And the Border Patrol officer, the Canadian, whatever you call it, the Canadian equivalent of our Border Patrol, actually mocked the driver, saying that I'm paid by salary, you're by the mail, you're by the mile, blah, blah, blah. Well, truckers are mad, and they're protesting in a huge way with what's called a slow roll. For anyone that doesn't understand, they're not, contrary to what you may be seeing in the media, they're not blocking, interstates and shutting down yet. They're not doing any of that. What they're doing is what's called a slow roll. So it's where they travel at the minimum posted speed limit on the roadway where they're traveling. And they do it in a convoy, usually side by side, which then snarls traffic up. It's completely and utterly legal, and there's nothing that could be done about it. Now, in addition, they're not just doing it. Like in the United States, people did these slow rolls when there's something, because really, if you think about it, it's the only way truckers can actually protest, right? They travel on the interstates all day. It's one of the best ways to bring attention to your issue is to cause inconvenience. And again, I don't back any of these, but from a, realistic point looking at it, it's a very good way to show people that you're pissed off about what's going on, because you're inconveniencing everybody that travels behind you. Well, these truckers are doing it nationwide in Canada, which is incredibly impressive. So, and usually, like even on the best day in the United States, when they do a trucker protest, like they did May Day and in May of 2022, or 2020, where a group of about 180 to 200 truckers set up on Constitution Ave across from the White House when Donald Trump was in office, because, well, COVID was impacting the trucking industry. Rates were, went to a super low, and they protested out there. And that's usually, that was a big protest for the trucking industry. Many people didn't even hear about it until Donald Trump said, oh, you hear all those trucks that are out there for me? And then CNN went out and fact-checked it, and they weren't there for Donald Trump. They were, in fact, many of them were Trump supporters, but they were there for other reasons. So CNN fact-checked it and said, that they're not there to support him. And so finally the truckers got some sort of recognition after being out there for 18 days. Anyway, but that's a large trucker protest. Like these same organizers of those protests had actually, done their own slow rolls and all that stuff, which it's great. It brings attention to it, but it's a minor inconvenience. It certainly doesn't make national news. Now, fast forward to what's going on in Canada right now. It's making international news, because just the sheer number. It's estimated that anywhere from 5,000 trucks are participating in these slow rolls across Canada right now, which is huge considering there's 180,000 truckers in Canada. That's a huge percentage of truckers that are participating in these slow rolls. And it's whole trucking companies and individual owner operators, dump truck operators, cement truck operators. But here's the best part. There's so many videos on social media where you actually see these truckers driving under overpasses. And we put some of the photos on our news article on Citizen Stringer and CapacityToday.com, where you see the overpasses and the entrance ramps are completely chock full of people supporting the truck drivers that are standing up for their right to work, essentially. Because now in Canada and in the United States implemented their own mandates on truckers on the 21st. What's unclear is some of the news outlets that cover the transportation industry are saying that trucking is not going to be greatly affected because there is this weird exemption that I can't find, and I don't understand how anybody is saying that trucking in the United States isn't going to be impacted, but whatever. So what's going on in Canada is you have all these people protesting. They set up a GoFundMe. Now get this. They set up a GoFundMe account because truckers, they're driving things that get 7 miles per gallon. I don't even know how many liters is that. What's that? Well, like 1 liter per gallon or something like that up there. Isn't that what they do in Canada? Anyway. And that all costs money. It costs money when they're not driving because, again, drivers are paid by the mile. They're not salaried usually. So what's interesting about this is they set up a GoFundMe account. Now, they set up the GoFundMe on the 14th. Today is the 20th. In the past 24 hours, they've raised over so I don't know what it was when I started, but yesterday I tracked it when I was writing the article, and they were at $2.1 million Canadian dollars. Now they're at 3.1 or $3.3 million, and it's just going to continue going up. And what they're using that money for is to provide fuel, to provide food, lodging, and to account for some of the losses that these truck drivers are having. But because they've raised so much money and because they're doing it the right way, like they actually have organizations and budget committees that are helping to disperse this money, more people are getting involved in these protests. And now it's not even just a protest about truckers, because it never really was a protest about truckers. Now you also have car caravans that are joining these trucking caravans, and you have lines, miles and miles and miles of truckers that are standing up for their fundamental right to make a decision about what goes in their body and not have their livelihood impacted. What I will be very, very surprised and interested in is if the United States, if the truckers that are affected by all these COVID protocols and stuff, they probably won't. But if they would start these kind of protests, because it's said that up to 30% of truckers in the United States are not vaccinated, and of that 30%, 80% say of that 80% of that 30% say they would quit their jobs if vaccinations became mandatory. So we're going to have to wait and see what's going to transpire. And will that freedom convoy that's currently taking place in Canada, will that translate all the way down here into the United States? I sincerely hope it does, because people should be protesting every day because of these crazy mandates. And again, it's not anti-vax. If you want to get the vaccination, go for it. But you shouldn't be mandating anybody else to do it. It's silly. Doesn't make any sense. All righty, let's see what else we have for news. I think that may have done it. Let me check the Dow one more time. We'll see where the Dow is. Dow is back down 649 points. So, man, we're so screwed. Let's see. What this from NBC News, the stocks fell Monday as investors waited for more corporate earnings results from a key policy decision from the Federal Reserve. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost about 700 points, or 2.1%, before a slight mid-morning rally, which is now down again because they're at 640. It's the seventh straight day of declines for the blue chip index. The S&P 500 dipped 2.4%, down more than 10% from its intraday high. The Nasdaq declined by just over 3%, falling deeper into correction territory. The market action Monday following a brutal week on Wall Street in the face of mixed company earnings and worries about rising interest rates. Monday's pullback put the S&P down more than 9% this month, on pace for its worst monthly decline since March of 2020. Keep in mind, that's when COVID hit. So right now, COVID is whatever it is. We have a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Joe Biden says we have the strongest economy we've ever had, and our we're on pace for our worst monthly decline for the S&P 500 since COVID lockdowns began. We're not even locked down now. Like, people have to understand, like, every time Joe Biden gets up there and says our economy is great, he tweeted about it this morning, I think. Our economy is not great. It's far from great. And in fact, if we go to war, or China and Taiwan go to war, or anybody goes to war, we are so done. That's all I can say. So done. The NASDAQ, meanwhile, has dropped roughly 14% in January on its pace for its worst month since October 2008, where it plunged 17.7%. The CBOE Volatility Index, known on Wall Street as the market's fear gauge, hit its highest level in nearly a year, surpassing 37 on Monday morning. The fourth quarter earnings season has been a mixed bag. While 3/4 of the S&P 500 companies that have reported results have topped Wall Street estimates, a couple of key firms let down investors last week, including Goldman Sachs and Netflix. Investors are anticipating a slew of high-stakes earning reports from mega-cap tech companies this week. Microsoft fell 2.5%, Apple lost 2.1%, and Tesla pulled back 7.6% ahead of the quarterly reports. Peloton shares rebounded more than 4% following news that activist investor Blackwells is calling for an interactive fitness company to fire John Foley and seek a buyer. And then this article goes on to talk about other stuff. Bitcoin is low too, right? Wasn't Bitcoin a couple of weeks ago up over 50,000? Now I saw it this morning. It was at 34,000 or something like that. I don't know, man. I don't do the cryptocurrency thing. I don't trust any of that stuff. But anyway, I'm glad you guys tuned in with me. This has been your midday news update. In a few minutes, I'm going to replay this all day on Citizen Stringer until 6 o'clock. But if you're watching on social media, do me a huge favor, because we are fighting the hell out of their shadow ban. I even changed the name on Facebook. We're trying to do everything we can. Now you'll notice that the main Wake Up America page is now just named my name. It's just me, and I'm trying to switch things so I could do more on there to try to make it so we have more of a reach. So what I need you guys to do, if you're watching on that page where it's like Steve Oatley is live, share this video out. Share it, share it, share it. I'm not producing content so it just goes on deaf ears. People need to hear what's going on in this country. Oh, and by the way, go to puretruthcoffee.com and buy some coffee. I got to place a new order. So if you guys wait until 12 o'clock, I'm going to do a sale on all of our coffee. I'm going to do 20% off because I got to get rid of this stock so I can buy more. 20% off all of our coffee starting at 12 o'clock. I'll run that sale until tomorrow morning at 12 as well. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Oh, in that sale code, just type in coffee. That'll be your promotion for the... Actually, I'll make it universal for all coffee. It'll be 20% off. There you go. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We will see you tomorrow. Actually, we'll see you tonight for a new episode of Wake Up America. And, we'll go from there. I'm going to play the Wake Up America outro anyway because it's cool. Bye.
You've been listening to Wake Up America with Stephen Oatley. Unapologetically American and unapologetically honest. Join us each night at 8 p.m. for more daily headlines, politics, and social issues, covering the headlines that mainstream media ignores. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review the show. See more on the website at citizenstringer.com. And we'll see you tomorrow on Wake Up America.